Welcome to Hired in IT. Our mission is simple: help you build the skills that employers actually want. Whether you're trying to land your first IT job, switch careers, earn a promotion, or increase your salary, we're here to help. Every video is thoroughly researched and designed to make complex IT topics easy to understand. If there's an IT topic you'd like us to cover, leave a comment below. We may turn your suggestion into our next video. Turning IT knowledge into career opportunities. You type your banking password. In the milliseconds before the page loads, that credential races through a dozen routers. Any one of them could be a wiretap. But it arrives as unreadable noise. That's not magic, it's math. SSL, or more accurately, TLS, scrambles your data mid-flight into gobbledygook that only the intended server can unravel. Welcome to Hired in IT. Today, we're cracking open exactly how that encrypted tunnel gets built, from that first hello to the padlock you trust every day. By the end of this video, you'll have 3 real skills, not just trivia. You'll be able to walk a colleague through the TLS handshake step by step. Explain how a certificate prevents a man in the middle from stealing your bank credentials, and pull up any website and inspect its encryption right now. No fluff. These are the concrete things you'll be able to do. SSL TLS are cryptographic protocols that create a private tunnel between a browser and a server. Without them, every password, credit card number, and private email flies across the internet as plain, readable text. Any router along the way could see it. With TLS, that same data becomes unreadable noise. That's the core problem it solves, and it's the foundation of every secure connection you've ever made. SSL, Secure Sockets Layer, is dead. Every version, 2.0 and 3.0, was deprecated years ago because of serious vulnerabilities. The modern protocol is TLS, Transport Layer Security, and the actively supported secure versions today are 1.2 and 1.3. The catchy name stuck, so you'll still hear SSL certificate thrown around, but when you're configuring a server, you're actually enabling TLS. This timeline shows exactly which versions belong in the graveyard and which are still alive. TLS isn't just for websites. You'll find it securing email servers with SMTPS and IMAPs, encrypting VPN tunnels, protecting API calls between microservices, and even inside corporate networks where zero-trust architectures demand encryption everywhere. As an IT pro, you'll touch TLS constantly, whether you're setting up a web server, debugging a cloud load balancer, or locking down internal Active Directory traffic. Before we dive into each step, let's lock in the high-level sequence. Pause if you need a moment. These 4 steps are the skeleton of every TLS connection. The client kicks things off with a client hello message. It declares the maximum TLS version it can handle, a list of Cipher suites, all the encryption algorithms it knows, and a random number. Think of the Cipher suite list as the client saying, "Here's what I can do, pick one." That random value is crucial too. Later, it'll be stirred into the secret sauce that generates the session keys. The server responds with a server hello. It picks one Cipher suite from the client's list, sends its own random number, and attaches its digital certificate. That chosen cipher determines the strength of everything that follows. An admin carelessly allowing an old, weak cipher like RC4 starts the entire connection with a gaping hole. The certificate is the server's passport. We'll see in a moment how the client verifies it. The client now validates the server's certificate against a trusted certificate authority chain, a topic we covered in depth back in Part 8 on PKI. It checks 3 things. Was the certificate issued by a trusted root CA? Has it expired? And does the domain name on the cert match the URL you typed? On the left, a valid certificate passes all three checks. On the right, a bad one fails any of them, and the browser throws a warning. This chain of trust is what makes it impossible for an attacker to just present a fake certificate without detection. The client and server have already agreed on the TLS version, selected a Cipher suite, and verified the server's digital certificate. Now they need one more thing, a shared secret that only the two of them know. Modern TLS typically uses elliptic curve Diffie-Hellman ephemeral, or ECDHE, to establish that secret. Here's the clever part. Neither the client nor the server actually sends the shared secret across the network. Instead, each side generates its own temporary private value, exchanges only the corresponding public information, and independently performs the same mathematical calculation. Although anyone can see the public values, only the client and server can arrive at the identical shared secret. Because the private values never leave either device, an attacker watching the entire exchange still can't calculate the secret. The word ephemeral means these temporary keys exist only for this single session. When the connection ends, they're discarded. That's what provides forward secrecy. Even if someone later steals the server's long-term private key, they still cannot decrypt traffic that was captured from previous sessions. This one design decision is one of the biggest reasons modern TLS is so secure. Now it's time to turn that shared secret into the keys that will protect the rest of the conversation. Both the client and server already know the same shared secret. They also each have the random values exchanged earlier during the client hello and server hello messages. These values are fed into a key derivation function, or KDF. Think of it like a cryptographic recipe. The ingredients are identical on both sides, so both independently produce the exact same session keys. Here's the important part. Those session keys are never transmitted across the network. Each side calculates them locally. An attacker may have recorded every packet exchange during the handshake, but without the shared secret, those same keys cannot be reproduced. Once the session keys are ready, the handshake is complete. From this point forward, fast symmetric encryption, typically AES, protects every web page, password, API request, and file transferred during the session. Let's make sure we have the most critical piece of the puzzle locked in before we move forward. A quick mental check. What makes ECDE the safer choice, and why does it protect your past data? Quick recall before we go deeper. What three items does the server hand over in its first hello? And why must the pre-master secret be sealed with the server's public key? Pause if you need to. These are the anchor points of every TLS connection. TLS uses two very different kinds of encryption, and understanding when each one shows up is critical. On the left, asymmetric, a public SACHAR private key pair. It solves the key sharing problem, but it's slow. On the right, symmetric, a single shared key, blazing fast, perfect for the ongoing conversation. So why not use asymmetric for everything? Speed. Symmetric AES runs thousands of times faster than RSA. So TLS marries the two. Use slow but secure asymmetric to set up a one-time shared secret, then hand off to fast symmetric for the rest of the talk. That's the engine. Let's break down a real Cipher suite string. TLS SAM ECDH ECDIS with AS 128 GCM SHA 256. Each underscore separates a component. ECDHE is the key exchange. Notice the E for ephemeral, giving us forward secrecy. ECDSA handles the server authentication signature. AES 128 GCM is the bulk symmetric cipher, with GCM providing authenticated encryption. SHA 256 is the hashing algorithm for message authentication, a common mistake that kills forward secrecy. If the suite uses plain RSA key exchange instead of ECDHE, a stolen server private key later could decrypt all past sessions. That's why modern TLS configurations prefer forward secrecy algorithms like ECDHE over static RSA. You don't need to be a security architect to inspect a website's TLS. Your browser has everything built in. Head to any HTTPS site, click the padlock icon in the address bar, then open Certificate is Valid. You'll see the issuer, maybe Let's Encrypt or DigiCert, and the validity dates. Dig into the Details tab, and you'll find the exact cipher suite protecting that connection. Go do this right now on your bank's login page. It's a superpower that takes 10 seconds to learn. A small online retailer I worked with learned this lesson the hard way. Their SSL certificate expired on a Friday evening. Nobody noticed until Monday morning, when every customer trying to log in got a full-screen red warning, "Your connection is not private." Sales dropped to zero for an entire weekend. The fix took 5 minutes, renew the certificate, but the damage was thousands in lost revenue. The kicker? A simple cron job running certbot renew would have prevented it entirely. Certificates typically only last 90 days. Automate renewal or mark your calendar in bold red ink. But here's what nobody tells you. That little lock icon in your browser guarantees encryption, but it says absolutely nothing about the quality of that encryption. There are live banking websites right now running TLS 1.0 with RC4 ciphers, protocols designed in the 90s that have been cracked for years. The lock just means some form of TLS is happening. It doesn't mean it's strong. So as an IT professional, your job isn't just to get the padlock, it's to make sure nobody behind it is using security theater. Not all cipher suites provide the same level of protection. Modern TLS favors cipher suites that combine 3 important characteristics. First, they use ECDHE for key agreement, providing forward secrecy. Second, they use a modern symmetric algorithm such as AES GCM or CHA-20 Poly 10305 to encrypt application data efficiently. Finally, they provide both confidentiality and integrity, ensuring data remains private and cannot be silently modified during transmission. Older cipher suites often relied on technologies that no longer meet today's security recommendations. While many of those older options remain available for compatibility with legacy systems, they should generally be disabled whenever possible. As an IT professional, your goal isn't simply to enable TLS. Your goal is to configure TLS using modern protocols and strong cipher suites that reflect today's security best practices. Your server's TLS configuration should be a short allow list, not a museum of every protocol ever invented. Enable TLS 1.3. It's faster, more secure, and now widely supported. TLS 1.2 is still acceptable, but aim for 1.3. Everything else, TLS 1.1, 1.0, and certainly any SSL version, must be disabled immediately. Industry standards for payment card data encourage TLS 1.2 as a baseline. So go into your web server config right now and set SSL protocols to TLS v1.2 and TLS v1.3. That single line cuts your attack surface in half. Let's put this knowledge to work. Head to sslabs.com SSL test. Type your company's domain and hit submit. In about a minute, you get a letter grade, A+ down to F, based on your TLS hygiene. Scroll down to the Cipher Suite section. If you see anything starting with TLS RSA or a CBC mode without AEAD. That's a red flag. Then check the protocols list. The report calls out TLS 1.0 and 1.1 with a big warning. This single free audit shows your attackers exactly where your server is weak, so fix it before they do. Cipher and version. Checkpoint. When you use an application load balancer in the cloud, you almost always terminate TLS right there. The client's HTTPS connection hits the ALB, which decrypts the traffic and then forwards it as plain HTTP to your backend EC2 instances. That's convenient. Your servers don't handle the crypto, but it means anyone who sniffs the private network between the ALB and your instances sees every password and session token. The fix is re-encryption. Configure the ALB to speak HTTPS to the backends as well, using its own internal certificate. Now every hop stays dark to an eavesdropper. You don't need to pay for certificates. Let's Encrypt gives them away for free, and the certbot tool automates the entire cycle. The command sudo certbot renew dry run tells you whether your renewal setup works without touching live certificates. Add a cron job that runs certbot renew twice a day, and you'll never see an expiration warning again. In AWS, Certificate Manager handles this even more smoothly. Once you attach a free ACM certificate to your load balancer, it handles renewal automatically before expiry with zero cron jobs. Either way, the era of paying hundreds of dollars for a padlock is over. If you think TLS is just for HTTPS, you're missing half the picture. It's the encryption backbone for email, whether you're sending, fetching, or archiving. It wraps the VPN tunnel. Your remote workforce depends on every day. It locks down lightweight directory access protocol queries hitting your Active Directory, and it secures file transfers that move sensitive data between systems. As an IT generalist, you won't just configure Apache. You'll touch TLS on mail servers, VPN concentrators, and directory services. Understanding the protocol is how you stop being the person who reboots a server and become the person who architects secure communication. OpenSSL S Client is your Swiss Army knife for TLS troubleshooting. Run OpenSSL S Client. Connect example. .com/43 TEO Momsha2, and you get a live dump of the entire handshake. Look for the certificate chain to confirm the correct CA signed it. Check the negotiated Cipher suite to see if you got ECDHEAESGCM or something weaker. And watch for the verify return code. 0 means the certificate is trusted. If this command fails but your browser shows the lock, your browser likely has a different Cipher order or trusts an enterprise CA that your system's trust store doesn't know about. Recite this once and you'll never forget the flow. All cats grow big ears. Eventually. All. The client says hello with versions and ciphers. Cats. The server picks a cipher suite. Grow. The server sends its certificate. Big. Both sides do the key exchange. Ears. The encrypted tunnel goes up. Eventually, all subsequent data stays encrypted. It's silly, but that's exactly why it sticks. 6 letters, 6 steps, 1 handshake you can explain without notes. Since 2014, Google has used HTTPS as a positive ranking signal. Sites that move from HTTP to HTTPS often see a measurable lift in organic traffic for the same content, simply because the lock icon tells Google the connection is trustworthy. That's not a theory, it's a quantifiable business benefit. So when a manager asks why you're spending a Friday afternoon hardening ciphers, hand them this checklist. A properly configured TLS stack doesn't just stop hackers, it brings more visitors through your front door. Suppose an attacker sits between you and your bank. They send you a fake certificate, hoping your browser accepts it. But your browser doesn't trust just anyone. It checks the certificate against a pre-installed list of certificate authorities stored in your trust store. Since the attacker's cert isn't signed by a real CA, the check fails and the browser slaps up a warning. That's why certificate pinning and certificate transparency logs exist. They make it even harder for a fraudulent certificate to slip through. TLS doesn't just encrypt. It verifies identity so a man in the middle can't silently pose as your bank. Certificate Error Checkpoint. TLS 1.3 isn't just a minor bump. It slashes the handshake from 2 round trips to 1, reducing latency and making page loads feel faster. More importantly, it makes forward secrecy mandatory and kills every weak Cipher suite by design. If you're still using TLS 1.2 with RSA key exchange, one leaked private key can decrypt every session ever captured. TLS 1.3 eliminates that class of risk entirely. Let's look at what a secure TLS configuration actually does. The first setting specifies which TLS versions your server accepts. For most environments today, that means allowing only TLS 1.2 and TLS 1.3, while disabling all older SSL and TLS versions. Next comes the Cipher configuration. This determines which encryption algorithms clients are allowed to use. A good configuration prefers modern Cipher suites that provide forward secrecy and authenticated encryption, while rejecting outdated algorithms that are no longer considered secure. Finally, the server applies these settings to every incoming HTTPS connection. You don't need to memorize every directive. What's important is understanding why each setting exists. As you gain experience, you'll use security benchmarks, vendor recommendations, and automated scanners to validate your configurations rather than relying on copy and paste examples. That's how professional system administrators and security engineers manage TLS in production environments. The ACME protocol makes 90-day certificates a non-issue. Certbot, or any ACME client, proves you control the domain through a simple HTTP challenge. Let's Encrypt issues a free certificate, and the agent stores it. A cron job kicks in 30 days before expiration and renews everything automatically. No human touches the process. Without automation, 90-day certs are a recurring nightmare. With it, they're a security feature that limits the damage of a compromised key. When you can explain TLS, you stop applying for help desk roles and start interviewing for security positions. Entry-level SOC analysts can earn up to $70,000. Security administrators up to $80,000. Vulnerability analysts up to $85,000. GRC analysts up to $80,000. And these numbers accelerate fast. Mid-level security pros often hit 6 figures within a few years. The padlock isn't just a browser icon. It's a career unlock. These are your 3 TLS superpowers. You can walk through the handshake, spot a weak cipher at a glance, and lock down a server with a config snippet. You didn't just learn theory, you built executable skills. That's what moves your career forward. Let's lock in what we just covered. What are the 3 main steps of the TLS handshake? In order. Spend 15 minutes this week doing these 3 exercises. They build muscle memory. After that, TLS isn't just a concept. It's something you actively manage. You'll spot bad configurations at a glance, and that skill separates the help desk crowd from the engineers. Time to tie it all together. You've just learned TLS inside out. Name the 2 types of encryption used in a TLS session and explain why both are needed. If this video helped you, hit like and subscribe. It genuinely helps the channel grow. Drop a comment. What protocol do you want broken down next? Kerberos? IPsec? Next up, Part 10. Endpoint Protection. The shield for every device. Because a padlock stops eavesdroppers, but it doesn't stop a malware-laden attachment from infecting the machine on the other side of that encrypted tunnel. Mastering TLS is a stepping stone into security engineering, and you just took a huge step. Stay secure, and I'll see you in the next one.